Omissa was like any other 17-year-old girl. She was on the cheer team, a grade A student, and was accepted to her top choice college. She was just about to finish up her high school career when one day, everything changed in a blink of her eye. Omissa was driving home from school when suddenly she was overcome with fog and a strange hooded figure appeared in front of her small vehicle. She slammed on her brakes and swerved to avoid the man. But when she did, he disappeared and she found herself in a bright white room. There was nothing in this room except for this hooded man. His back was to her. Omissa was confused and only vaguely recalled what happened. She asked for her parents, and the man sadly enlightened her that she will no longer see any member of her family or friend group. He told her that she had died in the car crash, but had the opportunity to go back to Earth, but as a different person and with a job unlike no other. If she were to accept this offer, she was to follow him to his house. The man guided Omissa through a doorway, and they ended up in the middle of a wooded area. After walking around for a bit, they arrived at a small log cottage. This is where the man lived. Omissa, skeptical and nervous, followed the man through the vine-covered doorway and into his abode. The first thing she noticed was an oversized cast-iron cauldron and a spell book protected by a glass shield. Now she was starting to get worried. The man finally introduced himself. His name was Cato, which meant intelligent and all-knowing in Latin. He told her that he had also died years ago. He had been a soul reaper for hundreds of years now. His job was to take souls from people before they suffer a brutal death. This is how and why Cato was at the scene of Omissa's car crash. Cato led Omissa through an extensive Reaper training course. After a few weeks, he mentioned that every person has a certain time of death and that death was unfortunately unavoidable. He has sought after this girl's soul, but after time and time again, his efforts were to no avail. Her name was Natia. It seems like she has the luck of always avoiding death when it was her time. Cato needed Omissa's help to make sure that Natia didn't slip by once again. Natia was younger than Omissa. She had just started high school and was extremely clumsy. It's impressive that her time hadn't come sooner. Cato showed Omissa to his spell book, but it was actually just a book of names and explanations on how and where a certain person was to die. Natia had her own section with multiple pages of circumstances and how she avoided death each time. One instance was where she was planning on crossing the road when a bus came, but instead her shoe came untied, so she stopped to tie it before crossing the street, completely avoiding the bus. This time, her death is planning on occurring outside an apartment complex. Omissa and Cato show up to the place her death is supposedly happening. When they arrive, Natia walked up to them. Sensing who and what they are, she pleaded for them to take her. Cato asked how she knew who they were. She mentioned that she had witnessed so much sorrow and death in her life that she wanted to go with them and stop it all. Omissa was feeling sorry for this poor girl. Like herself, Natia had so much more life to live and hated that time and time again, everything was almost taken away from her. Cato made a deal to offer Natia a second chance at life. She would get the chance to keep living life and not become a soul reaper if she were to give up her life and finally let death work its course. Natia accepted his offer and promised to live a little more cautiously and carefully in the next life. She didn't want another run-in with death or a near-death experience.